is keeping safe and being responsible and staying home and only going out when it's necessary. So today I will be guiding you step by step on how to replicate this painting on a 40 by 50 canvas and with a little bit more simpler details. Alright, so let's start. So the way that we will be doing this is that I will be talking about the step-by-step procedure of painting, and then we will have a time-lapse sped-up version of the actual painting. And once that is done, feel free to pause or rewind accordingly. So to begin with, we want to start off with 3 important brushes. We have the big brush, which is a flat square brush. We have the medium brush, which is a round brush, and we have the small brush. Alright, so for the first step of this painting, we want to outline the important points, so like where the roads are, where these buildings align, and yeah, so that's where we want to outline the important like spaces of the painting. So we will do that by yellow paint and putting that on the palette, and then we'll just put quite a bit of water. You don't want it to be thick because those outlines are simply to just guide you on where to paint, but it's not really part of the painting itself. It's just guidelines. Alright, let's do it. So as you guys can see, I have drawn the outline for the road, for where the buildings go, the section of the buildings, the top part of a store, and also the rooftops of some of the buildings. You don't really see it on that painting because it will be covered by the trees, but we don't really want to leave it empty just in case your leaves don't hit spots, and then we don't want it to have like white spaces, right? So now the next step would be the road. First we will start off from this side and we will paint that a very light yellow, so that's a lot of white with very little yellow paint, and then as we go down it's more yellow, and then as we go down it'll be orange, so that's yellow with a bit of red, and then as we go further down it will be just red, and then here it will be red with a bit of brown. And as you can see, it's quite textured because the way I applied the paint is kind of like in a dabbing motion, but not just dab, but like kind of like a dab and kind of drag it a bit, a dab, drag, dab, drag kind of technique. You may have noticed that while I was painting the road that I was barely washing my brush or even dipping it in the water. This is because it makes it easier for the paints to blend because your brush would have had the color previous to the color that you are gradually creating until you reach the dark red. Also, don't forget to paint the sides so that the painting has a much more finished look once the whole painting is done. So now I'm just waiting for it to dry a bit more so that we can add more details to it. Okay, now that it's dry, let's put it back to its correct orientation. The next step would be to grab some white paint and put it over here. And as you can see on the original painting, there are some white parts as well. So those are actually puddles, as you can see. Our characters have umbrellas because it only just rained or still is raining. And these are the puddles. And after we do the puddles, I will go ahead and paint the rooftops as well, because as you can see from the original, it's basically the same color as the road, except with a different treatment. It's painted a lot more smoother than the road, so it's basically just long strokes of yellow, and then again, not really washing your paintbrush and just grabbing a bit of red to make that orange, and then grabbing more red to make it more red, and yeah, and so on. Also, if you still have some leftover reds, we will go ahead and paint this storefront red. So we're trying to use as much of the paint that we have on our palette on the canvas. Alright, so let's continue. As you may have noticed, so far the only brush that I have used is the medium brush. So I can go ahead and put that away for now, because we will now be using the large brush, the big brush. So the next parts that we'll be doing are the umbrella part of the store, the first floor of the store, this part of the pavement or sidewalk, and that part of the building. So we will be painting this part, this part, this part, and this part. So basically everything except the sky. And our color palette for the next parts will be our purples over here, our turquoise, and some blue, and we'll also need a bit of white. Alright, just a little recap while the painting is drying. For this part, I used this paint, and I didn't mix it with anything. I just went ahead and painted the whole thing. And then for the umbrella part of the store, it's this turquoise color. For this part, I used it as is, but for this part, I added a bit of white, so you can see that it's a little bit lighter. And these strokes are purely white paint. And then up here, I used the paint by itself as well without any mixture, and here as well. And then for this corner, I used this purple, and I gradually blended it with this blue. So the next part that we want to do is the sky. And for the sky, we will be using the turquoise blue, but very little of it. So you would most likely still have some turquoise blue on your palette. So what we want to do is use a lot of white in like a dot of turquoise blue. So it's a very, very, very light turquoise, as you can see on the original painting. Just a quick recap, what I did with the sky, I used a big flat brush and I just went ahead and painted it horizontally like that. And also the top and the sides. And then when I was done with that, I went ahead and got the medium brush and with just plain white, if you still have some leftovers of white, just go ahead and dab clouds if you want a cloud there, like cloud effects. But otherwise, if you want it to be a clear sky, you can leave out the clouds. So the next part that we will be painting are the details on the storefront. And we have two new colors to add to our palette, and that's the neon yellow and the neon orange. And then the other colors that you can see on the storefronts are just the leftover paints that we have on our palette. And yeah, so we will be using the neon yellow to create the doors and windows, and then we'll just add some accents or highlights with the neon orange, as you can see on the original. For the storefront details, we will be using the medium brush. So now we will be using our small brush to add some shadows over here, some shadows over here, and we're going to outline where the road meets the stores and also here on the pavement. If you have any leftover brown, we will use that for the shadows. And if you don't, just go ahead and take some more brown, but not so much. Right, so now that that is fully dried, I will go ahead and start painting the leaves of the trees. Surprisingly, that comes first before the bark of the trees and its branches. So to create this this look for the leaves, I will be using the big brush, and if we can use the red, I still have some leftover reds on my palette, so I'll go ahead and use that. And I have very little brown, but I'll need more, so I'll go ahead and refill my brown. And so basically what I will be doing is first I'll be dabbing some red over here on this side, and then a little bit up top, and then some more on this side, and then I want to be blending that with some brown. So after I put on the red, I'll go ahead and start using the brown as well without washing the brush. Right, so I'll go ahead and show you. Now that we have the red parts and the brown parts of the tree, as you can see on the original painting, we have some highlights, and those are made by yellow paint. So we want to just go ahead and use the medium brush and pick up some yellow and dab on. So if you can see, we use the red as the main color, and then I dab the brown on the parts where I feel like it needs the shadows. And now when we put the yellow, we want to put that above the brown parts, but not in all of them. Yeah, let's go. So we can go ahead and start with these trees, since they're isolated from this part. So now we will be needing two new colors. We have the dark green and the leaf green, or emerald green. There you go. And for this, we will be using the medium brush. So for this one, we want to dab kind of like a diamond shape using the dark green, this one. So we'll just dab that, 3 of those, and then as it is drying, we want to use this green to dab on half, the right side. Anyways, and if you still have some neon yellow left on your palette, you can go ahead and grab some, and that would be the last touches. So the neon yellow is actually those really nice bright highlights on the tree. So yeah. So my leaves up here have not completely dried yet because I dabbed the paints quite thick on the canvas, but I have most of them are dried now. So I want to add some drama effects. So I'm going to add some gold paint, you want to be using this one, to dab some only on the outer parts of the leaves. So a bit over here and a bit over here. I'll go ahead and show it to you. Alright, so now we will be adding another color to our palette, and that is black. We will now be doing the tree trunks on all of the trees. So we have one here, then 3 over here, and another one here. Alright, and we also will be doing the branches on these 2 parts here.
Well, as a small shopkeeper, the shop's inspector told me I'm breaking the law because I don't have a notice up as to my early closing day. And when we asked him, what about these Indian shops? They're breaking the law all the time. He publicly stated, I know these people are breaking the law, but I'm afraid to take action against them in case I'm accused of racial prejudice.
Last part of this whole painting, which is the 2 pairs of figures with umbrellas. I don't know, it's up to you. It's open to interpretation. It can be, you know, couples or brothers and sisters or friends. It's completely up to you. So for this one, I will do the first pair in normal time because I know that it's quite hard to do human figures, even if they're just silhouettes. So let me do this step by step with you. It's okay, you can keep the water dirty because you're working with black. It doesn't really make any difference if the water is clean or not. For the heads, we will just be doing 2 circles, more like oblongs actually, like stretch circles. Okay. And if you feel that your paint is too dry, go ahead and dip your brush in a cup of water. So there's my 2 heads. For the shoulders, we want to just do a straight line for both of our characters, or figures. There you go. Just give them a little bit of a neck if you want. Okay. And it's actually just a triangle. Nice isosceles triangle. There you go. Make sure that these figures are opaque. And then for the legs, it's just the same thing, but you know, give it a little bit of hips, and then down. Okay, triangle, long one, and then you just want to round that off. And we want to give them a little bit of a shadow, so to do that, you dip your finger in the cup, and at the bottom you just want to drag a bit of that black paint at the bottom, and you want your shadows to be all in the same direction. So if you can see from the trees, I did the shadows all in the same direction, so for the people you want to be doing the same thing. There. And now we want to add the umbrella. So we'll just draw a fine line over here for the umbrella. What do you call that? And then for the umbrella itself, you just want to draw a line like this. So again, it's another triangle. Find the middle point. There you go. I put a dot, and now I want to just connect that to the edges. I will go ahead and fill that in with black. Again, make sure that when you're filling in the silhouettes, that your black is really opaque. So that's it, guys. Wow, looks good. So I have a little bit of white paint left. I'm gonna go ahead and sign my initials. So that's it, guys. Well done. Hopefully the steps were easy to follow. And again, feel free to fast forward, to rewind, to pause at any given time. Thank you for choosing Paint the Town, even during these hard times. Hopefully you'll share this video with other people so that